The desert didn't care about your subscriber count. That was the first thing I noticed as the black SUV kicked up a trail of fine, red dust on the winding road into Joshua Tree. The landscape was prehistoric piles of massive, rounded boulders that looked like the discarded toys of giants, twisted yucca trees reaching their spiky arms toward the relentless sun, and a silence so heavy it felt like physical pressure against the eardrums. It was a place that stripped you down to your essentials, leaving nowhere to hide. I sat in the passenger seat, my leather briefcase resting on my knees like a shield. I was Archer Ortiz, 28 years old, and I was a fixer. I didn't fix sinks, engines, or leaks. I fixed brands. I fixed reputations. I took the messy, bleeding chaos of human error and I cauterized it with spreadsheets, non-disclosure agreements, and strategic narrative shifts. I was the guy you called when the algorithm turned against you, or when the fantasy you sold started to eat your reality. My new client was Ada Williams, 39 years old. 15 years ago, she had been the face of daytime television, the villainess everyone loved to hate on Passions of the Heart. She was the woman who threw wine in people's faces and pushed rivals down elevator shafts while wearing couture gowns. Then the writers killed her off in a plane crash. The industry decided she was too old at 30, and the divorce from her producer husband decimated her net worth. So she pivoted. She joined the creator economy. She launched a premium subscription channel, OnlyFans. Most people heard that name and thought of pornography. They thought of desperate people doing desperate things. I didn't. I thought of customer acquisition costs, churn rates, and the terrifying volatility of a business model based entirely on parasocial relationships. To me, Ada Williams wasn't a sex symbol. She was a distressed asset with high yield potential, but significant liquidity issues. She was a corporation of one, and her stock was crashing because she didn't know how to build a firewall between her soul and her sales. "We're here, sir," the driver said, slowing down as we approached a gate that looked heavy enough to stop a tank. The house was a masterpiece of brutalist architecture, a slab of concrete and glass cantilevered over a dry wash. It looked alien against the organic curves of the rocks. It looked sterile. It looked perfect. It was a fishbowl designed for a woman who lived her life on display, a cage made of windows. I grabbed my briefcase. Inside was my laptop, 2 burner phones, a satellite hotspot, and a hard drive containing the rebranding strategy I had spent the last 48 hours drafting. I adjusted my cuffs. I checked my tie in the rearview mirror. Perfect knot. My armor was in place. The front door opened before I reached it. Ada Williams stood in the frame. She was wearing a silk robe the color of emeralds that swept the floor as she moved, the fabric shimmering in the desert heat. Her hair, a dark, heavy curtain, was wrapped in a white towel. She was holding a ceramic coffee mug with both hands, clutching it like a source of warmth in the air-conditioned chill. She looked exactly like she did on screen, stunning, polished, untouchable, a high-definition fantasy come to life. Her skin was luminous, her posture regal. She looked like a woman who commanded rooms just by entering them. Then she made eye contact with me. Her hands twitched, a microspasm of nerves that rippled through her forearms. The mug slipped. Time seemed to slow down. I watched the ceramic tumble, rotating once in the air before it hit the polished concrete of the porch. Crash. The sound was sharp and violent in the quiet desert air. Shards of white ceramic exploded outward. Black coffee splashed across the hem of her expensive robe and splattered onto her bare feet. "Oh, God," she whispered. The voice was raspy, unpolished. It wasn't the voice of the villainess. It was the voice of a woman who hadn't slept in a week. She didn't move to clean it up. She didn't jump back. She just stared at the mess, her shoulders slumping forward, the star facade cracking faster than the mug. "I can't even hold a cup," she murmured, her voice trembling. "I can't hold a cup. How am I supposed to hold an audience?" I didn't say a word. I set my briefcase down on a dry patch of concrete. I walked past her. The scent of her shampoo, something expensive and floral, like jasmine and rain hitting me briefly. I entered the house. It was cool inside, smelling of ozone and emptiness. I found the kitchen minimalist, stainless steel, clearly never used for actual cooking, and located a broom and dustpan in the utility closet. I walked back out. I swept up the shards. I moved methodically, corralling the ceramic into a pile. I checked the floor for micro splinters, bending down to inspect the concrete. I dumped the debris into the bin by the door. I'm Archer Ortiz, I said, leaning the broom against the wall. I stood up to my full height, 6'2". I'm your new manager, and we're switching to plastic tumblers until the cortisol levels come down. She looked up at me. Her eyes were green, intelligent, and incredibly tired. There were fine lines around them that the filters usually scrubbed away. I liked them. They looked real. They looked like history. You're the fixer? She asked. I'm the architect, I corrected. I build the structure so you can live in it without the roof falling in. Shall we begin? The first 48 hours were purely administrative. I turned the dining table into a command center. I had 3 monitors running, one for analytics, one for communication, and one for security protocols. The house was glass, which meant there were no secrets. I watched her move through her day. She paced. She checked her phone every 30 seconds. She poured water and forgot to drink it. She was a bundle of raw nerves vibrating at a frequency that was exhausting just to watch. Your engagement is down 12% month over month, I said on the morning of the second day, not looking up from my screen. You're posting too much. You're flooding the market. You posted 5 times yesterday. Scarcity creates value, Ada. You're giving away the product for free. She stopped pacing. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized t-shirt that said Vogue in fading letters. She looked younger, like this, less like a product and more like a person. They want daily updates. Archer, she said, her voice rising. If I don't post, they unsubscribe. If I'm quiet for 6 hours, I get DMs asking if I'm dead, or worse, if I'm boring now. That's the fear. Being forgotten. Being replaced by a 20-year-old on TikTok who knows how to dance. They won't forget you, I said calmly. We're going to pivot. Less volume, higher quality. We're selling a narrative, not just images. We're selling the mystery of Ada. I don't have any mystery left, she said bitterly, gesturing at herself. I've sold it all. My morning routine, my workout, my skincare, my body. There's nothing left for me. We're going to take it back, I said. I've set up a queue, automated posts for the next 2 weeks. You don't need to log in. You don't need to read the comments. I handle the DMs. I handle the trolls. You just breathe. She stared at me. You handle the DMs? All of them. I have a script for the fans. I have a block list for the creeps. I have a legal template for the harassers. You'll see. Everything. I stopped typing. I turned in my chair to look at her. I've already seen it, Ada. I audited the last 6 months of your inbox last night. I know about Shadow King 99. I know about the request for your used gym clothes. I know. She flushed, a deep, shameful red. It's disgusting. Some of it? It's noise, I said, my voice steady. My job is to filter the noise so you can hear the signal. You stop reading the suggestion box. That's a directive. She let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for years. Okay. She walked over to the kitchen counter. Coffee? In a plastic mug? Black? I said. Please? It was a small surrender. But it was a start. On the 3rd day, the dynamic shifted. I was deep in the code of her firewall. Someone from a Russian IP address had been poking at her cloud storage, trying to brute force a password when she walked into the room. The air changed. It became charged, electric. She was wearing a red dress. It was backless, silk, and clung to her like a second skin. It was the kind of dress that started wars. Her hair was done voluminous curls that cascaded over her shoulders. Her makeup was flawless, highlighting her cheekbones and making her eyes look enormous. She didn't look like the tired woman in sweatpants. She looked like a weapon. I need to shoot the weekend special, she said. Her voice was different too. Lower, controlled, a performance. Okay, I said, keeping my eyes on the screen to maintain my professionalism. The lighting rig is set up in the bedroom. The tripod is calibrated. The remote shutter is on the nightstand. I can't use the tripod, she said. I stopped typing. I looked up. Why not? Because it looks static, she said, frustration leaking through the polish. It looks fake. The subscribers. They're complaining that it feels staged. They want point of view. They want to feel like they're in the room with me. Like they're the ones having dinner with me. like they're the ones walking me to bed. She took a step closer. The scent of her perfume hit me: jasmine, sandalwood, and something smoky. It was intoxicating, and I had to physically lock my knees to keep from reacting. I can't hold the camera and pour the wine at the same time. Archer. She paused. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw the crack in the armor. She wasn't commanding me. She was asking. She was begging. "I need your help creating content," she whispered. I closed my laptop slowly. The fan whirred into silence. The room was very quiet. "Ada," I said, my voice steady. "My contract covers strategy, security, and business management. It does not cover production assistance. I'm not asking you to be in it," she said quickly, holding up her hands. "I just need a hand. Literally, someone to hold the camera, someone to clink a glass, someone to act like they're there. Just a shoulder, a shadow." "You want me to roleplay?" "I want you to hold an iPhone," she corrected. "Please. I have to get this shot. If I miss this upload window, the algorithm buries me, and I need the revenue for the new production company." I looked at her. I saw the fear of irrelevance that drove her. It was a hunger I understood. I was obsessed with order because I feared chaos. She was obsessed with being seen because she feared vanishing. I stood up. I buttoned my suit jacket. "Fine," I said, "but I stay behind the lens, and I don't speak." The bedroom was set up like a high-end movie set. Soft amber lighting gelled to look like candlelight, a table for two by the window, overlooking the desert sunset, a bottle of expensive wine, 2 glasses. "Okay," she said, handing me her phone. It was warm from her hand. "Start recording. Keep it at eye level. You're the date. You've just walked in. I'm welcoming you." I took the phone. My hands were large, steady. I held it up, the frame filled with her. "Action," I muttered. Ada transformed. It was instantaneous. Her posture shifted, her spine curved. Her eyes lit up with a warmth that felt terrifyingly real. She walked toward the camera toward me. "You're late," she purred, reaching out to touch the side of the phone, her fingers grazing the case near my hand. "I was beginning to think you stood me up." I watched her through the screen. It was safer that way. It was a filter. It was a barrier. "But you're here now," she continued, her voice dropping an octave, becoming intimate. Husky. "And you look tired. Did you have a hard day? Did the world try to break you again?" She moved closer. She wasn't looking at the lens anymore. She was looking at me, just above the phone. Her gaze was direct, piercing. "Sit down," she said. "Let me take care of you." I moved backward, keeping the camera steady, simulating the movement of a person walking. I sat in the chair opposite her. She poured the wine. The sound of the liquid filling the glass was loud in the silence. She laughed at a joke I hadn't told. She was brilliant. She was magnetic. She was terrifying. "Cut," I said. She froze. The light went out of her eyes instantly. She slumped slightly. Was it okay? Was it too much? Did I look desperate? It was. "Effective," I said, my voice rougher than I intended. "We have the footage." "One more," she said. The intimacy shot. Just sitting on the sofa. Close. No talking. Just being. The after-dinner vibe. She walked to the white boucle sofa in the corner. She patted the cushion next to her. "I need you to sit here. Hold the camera low, like we're watching a movie and you're just checking your phone." I walked over. I sat down. The sofa dipped under my weight. I was close to her. I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. I could smell the jasmine perfume. I held the phone up. She leaned into me. She didn't touch me. Not really. She leaned her head near my shoulder, looking at the camera screen, checking her angle. "I missed you," she whispered to the lens. "I hate it when you leave." But then, she sighed. It wasn't a fake sigh. It wasn't the breathy exhale of a soap opera star. It was a heavy, exhausted, bone-deep sound. Her head dropped. It rested on my shoulder. Real contact. I stiffened. Every muscle in my body locked up. My protocol was breached. I looked at the wall, refusing to look down at her, refusing to acknowledge the way her body fit against mine. "Ada," I warned, my voice low. "Just a second," she murmured, closing her eyes. "Just let me rest. For a second. Nobody is watching yet." "The camera is rolling," I said. "I don't care," she said. Her voice was muffled against the fabric of my suit jacket. "I'm so tired of pretending. Archer, I'm so tired of smiling at a piece of glass. I'm so tired of being on." I looked down at the phone screen. I saw us. I saw the top of her head resting on my shoulder. I saw my own jaw, tight and clenched. I saw a man and a woman in a glass box in the middle of nowhere. I reached out with my free hand. I tapped the screen. "Stop recording." I put the phone face down on the cushion. "Then stop," I said. She didn't move. She stayed there, leaning against me, borrowing my strength. "I can't stop. This is who I am. This is what I do. If I stop, I disappear." "This is what you sell," I corrected. "It's not who you are." "I don't know who I am anymore," she admitted. "I'm just a collection of JPEGs and MP4s. I'm a subscription fee. I'm a fantasy for men who don't know my middle name." "It's Marie," I said. She lifted her head. She looked at me, surprised. "What?" "Ada Marie Williams. Born in Sacramento. You like your coffee black. You break mugs when you're stressed. You hate the desert silence because it reminds you of being alone." She stared at me. We were inches apart. I could see the gold flecks in her green eyes. "You notice things?" she said softly. "It's my job to notice variables." "Am I a variable?" "You're the primary asset," I said. "And the primary asset is overheating. You need a system reset." "Reboot me," she whispered. It was a line. A line from a script. But the look in her eyes wasn't scripted. It was a plea. It was raw hunger. Not for sex, but for reality. For someone to see her without the lens. I stood up. I broke the contact. I put distance between us. "I'm going to make dinner," I said. "Real dinner. Not props. Tacos. And you're going to put on sweatpants. We're taking the night off." "Archer, that's a directive from management," I said, turning my back on her before I did something unprofessional. "Go change." We ate tacos at the kitchen counter. She was wearing gray sweatpants and the vintage t-shirt. She had scrubbed her face clean. She looked 10 times better than she had in the red dress. We talked, not about metrics, not about subscribers. We talked about architecture, about why I liked systems, they don't lie, and why she liked acting. It lets you be someone else for a while. "I used to think acting was lying," she said, picking at a tortilla. "But it's not. It's telling the truth under imaginary circumstances. My job is the opposite," I said. "I tell lies to protect the truth. I build walls to hide the gold." "Am I the gold?" she asked. "You're the client," I said. She smiled. It was a small, sad smile. "Right, the client." Then, my laptop chimed. A priority alert? The sound cut through the room like a siren. I walked over to the dining table. I opened the lid. The screen was flashing red. "What is it?" Ada asked, sensing the shift in my posture immediately. The relaxed dinner companion was gone. The crisis manager was back. "A breach attempt," I said, my fingers flying across the keys. "Someone is trying to brute force your cloud password. They're using a botnet. It's sophisticated." "Is it?" "Did they get in?" "No. The firewall held. I have 2FA on everything, but the IP tracing, it's bypassing the proxy." I watched the lines of code scroll. I typed a traceroute command. "Got you," I muttered. "Where are they?" "They aren't in Russia," I said. "They're local. The signal is bouncing off a tower in 29 Palms, 20 miles away." I looked at the map. The user ID associated with the attack vector was familiar. "Preston Hale," I read. Ada gasped. She dropped her fork. "Preston? That's the subscriber. The one who sent the 50 roses last week. The superfan? The one who keeps asking for custom videos where I say his name. He's not just a fan," I said grimly. "He's trying to hack your geolocation data. He wants to know exactly where you are. He wants to come here," she whispered, her face going pale. "He sent me a message yesterday. He said." "He won't find you," I said. I scrubbed the metadata from every photo we posted. But he's trying, and he just made a mistake, I said. He pinged my honeypot server. I have his MAC address. I have his identity. I have his location. I picked up my burner phone. I dialed a number. Who are you calling? The sheriff's department, I said. The call was short and frustrating. They won't send a car, I said, hanging up. My jaw was tight. They said no crime has been committed yet. Attempted hacking isn't a priority for the county sheriff. They said the threat is ambiguous. They said call back if he shows up. Ada's eyes went wide. If he shows up? That's too late. I know, I said. I stood up. I paced the length of the room. The legal system I trusted was failing. So, I had to bypass the system. What do you do? Ada asked, her voice trembling. I have his IP. I have his digital footprint. I'm going to send him a package. I sat back down. I crafted a file. It looked like a leaked video file. It was titled Ada, Private, Home, Address, MOV. I uploaded it to a dummy server and sent the link directly to Preston's email, which I had extracted from the botnet logs. What is that? It's a canary token, I explained. When he opens it, it doesn't play a video. It executes a script that logs his exact GPS coordinates and takes a photo from his webcam. 2 minutes later, the notification pinged. File accessed. A photo popped up on my screen. A grainy image of a man in a motel room, lit by the glow of a laptop. The GPS coordinates, resolved. The Stardust Motel, room 12, 29, Palms. I see him, I said. I picked up the phone again. I didn't call the sheriff this time. I called the motel front desk. This is Archer Ortiz from First Omni Security, I said, my voice dropping into a tone of absolute, terrifying authority. We have a confirmed trace of active credit card fraud and identity theft mining originating from your network, specifically room 12. I paused, letting the words sink in. The perpetrator is using your IP address to commit felonies. If you do not sever his connection immediately and secure the room, your establishment will be liable as an accessory to federal wire fraud. Do you understand? The clerk on the other end stammered, I don't want any trouble. Then cut the line, I commanded, and tell him that we have his face, his location, and his MAC address. It was a bluff, a massive, calculated bluff. But to a motel clerk worried about liability, it sounded like the wrath of God. Yes, sir. Right away. I hung up. You lied to them. I leveraged a liability to neutralize a threat, I said. His internet is dead. He thinks a federal investigation is inbound for financial crimes. He's going to run. Guys like Preston aren't brave. They're opportunists. He's going to leave the state. I watched the GPS tracker. 5 minutes later, the dot moved. It was moving away from us. Fast. Heading east, toward Arizona. He's running, I said. I closed the laptop. The threat was gone. But the fear remained in the room, lingering like smoke. Ada was sitting on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket, staring out at the darkness. She looked small. You're good at this, she said without turning around. I protect the client. Stop calling me that, she said sharply. I paused. What? I'm not a client, she said, standing up and turning to face me. I'm a scared, lonely person standing in a glass house waiting for a stranger to break in. She walked over to me. You protected me, she said. You fixed the leak. You scared off the stalker. You're brilliant at the systems. But you're still treating me like a broken server that needs patching. I have to, I said. It's the only way to keep the lines clear. The lines are blurred, she said. They've been blurred since you swept up the coffee mug on the first day. Since you held me on the sofa. Since you made tacos. She reached out. She took my hand. Her fingers were warm, alive. I don't want you to manage me right now, she said. I want you to see me. Not the data points. Me. The woman who breaks mugs. Ada, look at me, Archer. Am I just work to you? I looked down at her. I saw the woman who fought for her career when the world told her to retire. I saw the only variable I couldn't predict. No, I admitted. My voice was low, cracking the professional veneer. You're the glitch. You're the anomaly that crashes my system every time I look at you. Good, she said. Crash. She stepped into me. She wrapped her arms around my waist. She buried her face in my shirt. I didn't push her away. I didn't recite the non-fraternization clause. I wrapped my arms around her. I held her. I created a sanctuary with my body, a place where the cameras couldn't see and the internet couldn't reach. I rested my chin on her head. We stood there for a long time, just breathing, just existing in the analog world. "Thank you," she mumbled into my chest. "For what?" "For not asking for anything," she said. "Everyone wants a piece of me. The fans want the photos. The studio wants the money. The ex wants the alimony. You just want me to be safe. Safety is the baseline," I said. She looked up at me. "I think I could be happy if I didn't have to pretend all the time. If I could just be." "Then stop," I said. "Pivot. Rebrand." "To what?" "To reality," I said. "Show them the sweatpants. Show them the broken mugs. Show them the art, not the act. Tell the truth. Will you help me?" "I'll build the platform," I promised. "I'll hold the light. But you have to be the one to stand in it." The next morning, we shot new content. No red dress. No wine. No fake boyfriend point of view. No ring lights. It was Ada, sitting on the porch steps in the morning sun, wearing a flannel shirt and jeans. No makeup. Drinking coffee from a plastic tumbler. She looked at the camera. I held it steady. "Hi," she said. "My name is Ada, and I'm tired." She talked about the desert. She talked about feeling lost in her own life. She talked about the pressure to be perfect. She talked about finding her footing again. It was raw. It was honest. It was the most compelling performance of her life, because it wasn't a performance. I stood behind the camera. I watched the monitor. She was radiant. "Cut," I said. She smiled at me. A real smile. One that reached her eyes. "How was it?" "Perfect," I said. "Upload it." She hit send. Then she put the phone down. Face down on the table. "Now what?" she asked. "Now," I said, "we eat breakfast, and then we drive back to LA. I have filed an IC3 report regarding Preston Hale's activities. Since he crossed state lines to initiate the attack, it's now under federal jurisdiction. The authorities will pick him up when he stops running." And after that, I walked over to her. I picked up her hand. I checked her knuckles, making sure she hadn't cut herself on anything new. After that, I said, "My contract is up. The week is over. I want to renew it," she said quickly. "I can't," I said. "Conflict of interest." Her face fell. She pulled her hand back slightly. "Oh, I see. Back to the spreadsheet." "No," I said. "I can't be your manager if I'm taking you to dinner." She blinked. "Dinner? Real dinner. No cameras. No content. Just dinner." She looked at me, understanding dawning in her eyes. "You want to take me to dinner?" "I want to take you anywhere you want to go," I said. "As long as it's offline. As long as I don't have to invoice you for it." "I know a place," she said, a smile blooming on her face. "Terrible lighting. No Wi-Fi. The food is greasy." "Sounds perfect," I said. "Sounds safe." I picked up my briefcase. I checked the perimeter one last time. The desert was quiet. The threat was neutralized. "Let's go," I said. She grabbed her bag. She grabbed my hand. "Ready," she said. We walked out of the glass house. As we passed the porch, I saw a faint brown stain on the concrete where the coffee had spilled on the first day, a permanent mark of imperfection. I stepped over it, and we walked into the real world, together.